Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Tables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. I seem to be tongue-tied. Today is another in my series of Case the Swap. This is a swap I got from the very lovely Yuille Hunt. She is in the same team as me. We are, in that sense, sisters. We're not sisters, but in the sense of team membering, we are sisters. So I am going to take this card, which is kind of note card size, and yeah, she hasn't actually said what size it is, but I will make my version of it. So I'm going to start with the embossing, and it's using embossing paste. Now I'm changing the colours because I'm changing the colours. The first thing to do is to make your hole, because trying to punch or die cut when the hole's in, not a good idea. So I'm using the 2-inch circle punch, and all I'm going to do is with a piece of Tempting Turquoise, which is going, sorry, at the moment when I'm filming this it is still available, but it is going. So I'm just going to punch a 2-inch circle out because it's going to be much easier to do that now than after I have embossed it. So I'm bringing in some scrap because when I say embossed, I'm using embossing paste. Now, there are now 3 sorts of embossing paste. There is the original, what I would call quite granular embossing paste, which is what I'm going to be using now. There's a shimmer white and a silver, which is gorgeous, and it's a sort of pearlescent silver. Those are slightly runnier than the original, but for the look that Yuille has gone for, we're using the original. I'm using one of the masks from the Carrying Over Party Pattern Decorative Masks. They are, I want to say they're made of mylar. It's that sort of thing. It's that sort of plasticky stuff, and you get a sort of hexagonal, well, no, it's not hexagonal, diamond shape, or you can see circles in it as well. You get clouds, and you get this medallion, which obviously goes with the Eastern Palace set, and the stamps and dies for the Eastern Palace are carrying over. So, and then there's this brick wall. Now, I have had this in a bag. I keep the lid on and it does dry out. I probably should have kept the piece of metal over the top. It does dry out. You can actually soften it with just water and then just sort of mix it in. But even if it's dried out, it works. I mean, drying out, if it's getting a bit solid, it still works beautifully. So I'm just, with one of the palette knives, which is in the catalogue, I'm just going to spread embossing paste over my mask, and it's not, doesn't need to be all over. So copying what Yuille has done, I'm just going to do it in an area, and it's just going to be that kind of that side. I want it to be reasonably thick over the area that's embossed, and then I'll scrape everything else off. So I'll lift it off, and that's just what I want. Now that needs to dry, so let's pop that down to dry. And then, waste not, want not, I'm just going to scrape the embossing paste back into the pot. And this is part of the reason that it dries out, because obviously once it's hit the air, it starts drying, and it does dry really quite quickly. So once it hits the air, it's starting to dry, and the more you play with it, the thicker it gets. So pop the lid on there. Now, the key to this, to getting everything clean, is to do it quickly. I've got some very wet wipes, so these will work fine. Otherwise, throw it all in warm soapy water, and then you can play with it later, but you can clean it up instantly pretty much. And then I just, with my wet wipe, clean off any excess, and then the key to this is to, let's get rid of that for the moment. The key to this is to get it all off all of your surfaces as quickly as possible. And then, there we go. And then I can bring in a piece of kitchen paper and just dry it off. The other side, because the other side will be wet. And there we go. That's about as clean as it's ever been. But if you do leave it, it will set rock solid. And I mean, you know, this has been done for weeks and it's solid. And it's going to do exactly the same thing on your mask and on your palette knife. Now the palette knives come in a set of 3. This is my preferred palette knife for large areas. You get this one, you get this one, and you get this one. It's a question of choice, which one you use for what. They are not expensive as a set. So yeah, very well worth getting. Right, okay, let's just make sure that's clean and dry, which it is. Don't need the mask anymore. So, in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I prepared earlier, because when I say they dry quickly, they do dry quickly, but they do take a little while. And we really don't want to literally sit and watch paint dry. So, let us do some stamping whilst it's dry. It's not completely dry, but it's dry enough. So, I am using, as Yuille did, the Bird Banter stamp set, which is going. I love it. I was actually counting on this one carrying over, but never mind. There are other lovely things that are coming in. So I'm using the same parrot that Yuille used, and I'm also going to use the same sentiment. So I've got a piece of Whisper White and a Memento Black ink pad. That really wasn't the wisest thing to do. I'll need to... Oh, nor was that. Let's do this the right way, shall we? Let's apply the stamp to the ink pad. And then I'll do a bit of cleaning up of me and of it. And just stamp that down. Am I in camera? Just about. Ooh, there we go. So that's that. Let's just get my cloth and wipe that. And wipe my finger. And actually we'll do the stamping for the sentiment while we're at it. I'm going to use Peekaboo Peach, which, as you know, is retiring because it's one of the retiring ink colours, although of course Flirty Flamingo is not retiring, which is nice. Actually no, I wanted the smaller piece. It's just, these are just 2 scraps that I had. Don't know why I brought in the wrong one. So it's just a scrap. It's about 3/4 of an inch high, that sort of thing. 1.5 centimetres ish, but it's just slightly bigger than the height-wise than the sentiment. And then I'll just take a pair of scissors and be brave. So that is all the stamping done. The colouring, let's pop those aside. I've actually already stamped the parrot because I'm going to use Stampin' Right markers, and I want to make sure that the Memento is really dry. It's much better to use really dry. So I have got, and they are all retiring colours, that's not, I have got Emerald Envy, Tempting Turquoise, Peekaboo Peach and Tangerine Tango. These 2, the Emerald Envy and the Peekaboo Peach, are obviously retiring in colours, and these are just retiring from the brights. Yuille used red and Bermuda Bay, but I'm going with the Tangerine Tango and the Tempting Turquoise. So let's just build some of this up. I'm actually going to be using slightly fewer colours than Yuille did. And I want to say she used blends. Yes. Yes, she used blends. Because they are out of stock at the moment, I'm trying to not use them. What I would say is that the Tuxedo Black Memento ink is perfect with blends, but it also works with the Stampin' Right markers as long as the Memento is properly dry, and that is the key. Right, so that's that. Let's use a bit of, actually, no, I will use a bit of this, and then I'm going to add some Tempting Turquoise up over the top, probably. So Peekaboo Peach there, and I'm also going to pop Peekaboo Peach here. And then add a bit more Tempting Turquoise there and there, just to give some definition. And I'm going to come in with more Peekaboo Peach. Do be careful when you do this not to add too much moisture at one go, because the card will pill. What do I mean by pill? Let's find a scrap. What I mean by pill, now this won't happen with blenders, with the Stampin' Blends, but this is what I mean by pill. So can you see this has come off the card? Can you see that? So you just basically break down the structure of the cardstock, and it's not a good look. So yeah, don't do that. So we're going to do a bit more here, and one there, and then we'll have a bit more here. I am trying to follow what Yuille's done to a degree. Then we'll have some Tempting Turquoise there, and I think we'll have a Tempting Turquoise tail feather, and then some Emerald Envy. Now, on the subject of Many Marvellous Markers, in case you haven't heard already, during April I am doing a giveaway for the Many Marvellous Markers. So if you shop with me during April and use the hostess code, vital, that's the whole key, and that's what I'll be looking for. If you use the hostess code, for every £25 you spend during, this is the chalk marker, during April, I will enter you into the prize draw for a set of Many Marvellous Markers. So some lucky person is going to get £99 worth of Many Marvellous Markers. It is the retiring set, so some of the colours will be ones that are retiring, but that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with the colours that are retiring. We're just getting some nice fresh ones instead. So yes, hostess code. So if you spent £30 in 1 month, I'm going to fussy cut, and I don't know if you've noticed, Jill has been quite clever. She has not bothered with the legs. I'm not going to bother with the legs either. Life really is too short, because we're going to hide that behind our nest. So if you were to spend £30 in one order, you'd get an entry. If you were to spend £45 in another order, you would get 1 entry. So that would be your next entry. But because I'm going to add the 2 orders together, and because that would make £75, you'd actually get 3 entries. So don't worry about, you know, having to make sure that whatever you're ordering is a multiple of 75. I will do the maths for you. If you're spending £150 or more, you're going to want to use the host code yourself, as in you're going to want to be your own host. I really don't blame you for that. So I'm still going to say thank you by allowing you to have an entry into the draw, but it will be just the 1 entry, because what I'm looking to do is to build up the stamping rewards so that anyone that shops with me in April A, gets the chance to win the markers, but also gets a nice product gift for using the Hostess Code. Right, so there's our little parrot. Right, let's start building this up. I'm going to, from the back, I'm not using the burlap. I've got burlap, but I'm going to use some of the mini chevron, and I'm going to use it in the old olive. So all I'm going to do is pop some fast fuse, which is still available, just some fast fuse around the edge of the circle, and I'm using just 2 short pieces, and I'm just going to overlap them. So that's going to be our nest, and then let's see, how am I going to attach this? I think on a dimensional. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this behind the circle. So this is the sky, this is soft sky, which is also retiring. I'm going to use Tangerine Tango as the card base. I will need to put a liner in as well. So what I'm going to do is just line that up by eye, and then add some fast fuse to the back of our soft sky piece, and this I'm going to slip in so that it's behind our circle but not poking out the side, so that should be fine. Yep, good, good, good. Then this I'm going to attach with dimensionals. This is actually a perfect time to use your edge pieces. So these are on the mini dimensionals, but obviously they're on these full-size dimensionals as well. But it's a good way of using these up. I tend, if I've got bits like this and I want to pop up the whole of a card layer, I tend to use these side pieces because they're bigger and they're just as sticky and they're just as raised, so they're just as good. So I hope you are getting everything you want from the retirement list. Remember, oh, big remember, I haven't said this for a while, whoops. If there are any bundles that you want that are carrying over, so are bundled on the, showing as retiring as a bundle on the retirement list, but you're going, but the dies aren't retiring and the stamps aren't retiring, that's because the stamps and the dies will be carrying over, but they will not be at a bundle price because they never are. So anything, and that works with the stamps that go with punches, if I had a brain. So if there is anything you fancy that is a bundle at the moment and showing us on the retirement list as a bundle, but you can't find the coordinating dies and stamps on the retirement list, that's because they are carrying over as individual items. But if you get them now, you will get the 10% off. If you wait until June, you will not get the 10% off. So fill your boots. Right, I'm going to pop a couple of dimensionals on the back of here. So yes, this is a real, you know, I'm telling you, save money. Because it would be a shame to lose out, really. So we're going to tuck his belly underneath so that we don't have to worry about his feet. The egg, I'm using the leaf punch. And if I get my scrap of paper, I just need that little egg there, little piece there. And then what I'm going to do is just trim the top, well, trim the stalk off, because that will make quite a nice little egg. I don't know what Jill used. Doesn't really matter what Jill used because I'm using this. And there we are, there's our egg. Right, so I've got a piece of crushed curry ribbon which I'm going to use in place of this. So I'll pop some fast fuse on the back of that. I'm going to be reasonably generous because we're sticking it to embossing paste. And then, if I can find this, there we are, I'll pop this over the top, which I am going to pop up on dimensionals. 1, 2. Pop that there. And then we need a liner. And on the inside, I am just going to, let's see, we'll grab that. I'm going to grab our balloon. Ooh. And need a block. It's the wrong size block, but it'll be fine. And then again with our tuxedo black, I'm just going to, down towards the bottom, stamp a balloon. And then pop the lid back on that, because otherwise I will put my hand in it. And I'm going to be brave. It really needs to dry a wee bit longer, but I'm just going to very carefully colour this in Peekaboo Peach. The blends would be a better option, but as I say, as they're not available at the moment, and as I am doing a draw for Many Marvellous Markers, although the in colours won't be in with the Many Marvellous Markers, because they in colours are not ever in with the Many Marvellous Markers. There is space for the in colours in the box, but there is, but they are not included. Although, to be fair, with the new range, there's not going to be enough room for all of the in colours, because there's only going to be 8 spare places. That's all I need to do on that. So all I need to do now is pop this in here, because yes, the neutrals are now going to have 10 colours in, whereas before they only used to have 8. Certainly as far as the Many Marvellous Markers were concerned, they only had 8. So there will be a little bit of a squeeze for the Many Marvellous Markers and the in colours. Right, there you go. So that's my inspiration. That's my version of it. They are very similar but different. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will link to Jillie's website, because the whole thing about casing is that you give credit to who you have cased, and she has a website, so I'm going to link to that. If you have enjoyed that, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, bottom right hand corner. If you need any of the products, I would be thrilled if you would shop from me. That would be lovely. And remember, you get into the prize draw if you shop with me before the end of April. So long as you spend at least £25. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Any questions or comments, please either leave them below or over on my blog, or send me an email, and I will see you very soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye!